Hi everyone. There is no official topic for week 11, so what better thing to talk about than NAPLAN? Since it's such a big focus of A2, I thought it would be really helpful to maybe talk a little bit about NAPLAN and talk a little bit more about the benefits and limitations that perhaps we haven't touched on so much already in the flipped and interactive collab. Now, as pre-service teachers, you may not have much exposure yet to what actually happens on the other end when NAPLAN results are released. So that's the part that I thought I would talk about. Now, I've attached this document for you to have a look at in your own time because it's quite a fair bit of information. But this is the reporting guide that comes out once the results are released. So schools get their own password and they can look up their own school results as a part of this particular website. And there's some quite interesting information that comes out of it that you can add to your benefits and limitations. Now, our benefits and limitations for NAPLAN are going to be quite general in a way because we're going to be linking to things like, the results are delayed or things like it tests particular parts of comprehension, or a benefit is that there's testing of different language features. So we really want to be able to have some good benefits and limitations that link to literacy as well. So with this testing guide, if you just apologies I don't need to scroll through, but if you have a scroll through, it talks about, I'm just going to whiz past all of that sort of stuff, all of the different reports that schools get back at all of the different year levels. And I'm just going to take you through. You can have a look yourself. That's just talking about the website that you can log on to as a teacher. I'm going to talk about just a couple of reports that you get, but you can have a look at this document and you'll see here that this is all the information that you get. You get the school summary report, the group report, assessment area report, writing criteria report, item analysis report, student response report, and all of those ones there as well. Some of them are just for year 7s and 9s. Year 3s are only certain ones, so just bear that in mind. That explains to you what all the reports are looking for, so you can have a look at that if you'd like to look at that a little bit more closely. What I'm going to have a look at is, first off, the writing criteria report. So in the NAPLAN writing, you'll find that what I actually really like about it, which I think is a really strong benefit, is that the NAPLAN writing breaks down writing into these key characteristics or key features. So then as a teacher who needs to be able to mark and moderate particular writing samples, we have the particular criteria that we're looking for. And as I probably mentioned before at different times, there's a nice mixture here of both things to do with, say, like the mechanics of writing, like paragraphing and sentence structure and punctuation and spelling, but then it's also got other things to do with how well you've written. So things like cohesion and ideas, audience, persuasive devices in this case are also analysed. So they're looking at how kids have used persuasive devices, formed ideas, formed an argument, all of the great things to do with how well you can write, but also the mechanics of writing too. It gives you a little description about what it is exactly that they're looking for and how the scores are organised. So from that, we get this writing criteria report. And what I really like about this report when it comes back is that it breaks down how your particular students in your class or your cohort did with audience, with text structure, with ideas. Now we can see that this graph's a little bit blurry because it's only an example graph, but that we've got a small amount of students, red being school, blue being the national average, and I can't see, I think it says state in there. So we've got national, state, and class. So we can see that what draws my eye when I'm looking at audience is that there is someone in the class who's working at, who got 5 for that, which is a really high score for audience. So you'd have to see with your individual report who that was and how you could support them. There is quite a few high flyers. There is some still only getting 1s or 2s, which could also be an issue if you're getting only a 1 or 2 out of 5 for your writing criteria. Another one I wanted to have a look at was that one's just giving you a look at maths, so let's skip past that. Is this one here. This is great. I used to love this one, and even though the data is 6 months old, it's still worth looking at as a teacher to see how kids went with particular questions. So what's great about this is you can see student 1 got all of these questions correct except when they got to question 15, and it gives you their response. Up here is what it should have been. It should have been a C. It tells you that they wrote D. It tells you that they got 18, 19, 22, etc., wrong. So you can have a look at all the individual questions for reading and see if there are any grade correlations. Now, we know the data is old, but we can still have a look as teachers and say, let me have a look. All right, I'm noticing that question 28, lots of kids didn't even have a go of it. Sorry for those emails popping up. Lots of kids didn't even, where's 28 gone? Like this kid didn't have a go. Hold on, that's got an answer key. I'm assuming the little asterisk means that they didn't answer. Let's have a look down here. Incorrect. All right, so yeah, they got it incorrect. So that's incorrect, incorrect. So that 28, whatever that question was, I could go back and have a look at the test and see what the actual premise of the question was. Was it inference? Was it an evaluation question? What was the idea behind it? And that could be just a teaching point as a whole grade. I know that the data is 6 months old, so I'm not going to go back to individual kids exactly. Potentially you could just to check up with them and see if it's something that's still an issue. But as a grade, you could have a look through and say, wow, you know, a lot of kids picked D. When I have a look at question 14, this kid thought it was D, and this kid thought it was D, and this kid thought it was D. Like, why was it that they're choosing D and not A? What was the thinking behind it? So there's lots of teaching points within this student response report, whether you form groups or whether you just get ideas on maybe things that need to be taught again or revised. One last thing that I want to have a look at, you guys can have a look at all this individual data and extra information in your own time. Where's page 33? Is this one here. Now, this is showing you value add between year 5 and year 7, which is not appropriate for us in this subject, but obviously there would be the same sort of graph and the same sort of data for relative growth between year 3 and year 5. So this is a big benefit of NAPLAN, is that you can have a look at your data. Now, obviously, we're just focusing on the literacy data, not the numeracy, but you can have a look at who has actually made that value add between what their score was as a grade 5 and what band they were sitting in, and what their score is as, it should be grade 3 for us and year 5. So this is showing the 5 to 7, but it's the same sort of table. So we can see that some kids have made high growth, and you could have a look as a teacher who those were. You could have a look at medium growth, and then the most concerning one is low growth. So you could have a look here, and then sometimes this even happens, which is even more concerning, that this particular student here scored 647 is a grade 5, and then 562 as a year 7. So they've actually gone backwards. Which does happen from time to time, and it is very concerning. If you have a look at this student here, 521, band 6, 523, band 6, so pretty much no improvement over the 2-year spread. Now, that tends to happen a lot between grade 5 and year 7 for obvious reasons, but it does happen between grade 3 and grade 5 as well, so that's quite helpful as a teacher to have a look through. Now, this is a 70-page document, so you're more than welcome to have a look at anything else that you might find is interesting or helpful for A2.